everything you need to know about the true crime documentary, The Crash. Welcome to Access Hollywood from Universal Studios Hollywood. I'm Mario Lopez, and the documentary is the #1 movie on Netflix right now and centers around the 2022 true crime story of 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla, who was found guilty of killing her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and his best friend, Davion Flanagan, by crashing her car into a brick wall at 100 miles per hour. Shirilla is now sharing her side of the story from prison as she attempts to appeal her 15-year to life sentence.
Radio. This car is split in two. Radio, there's an occupant inside.
I'm not gonna lie just because people want to hear a story. I have no recollection of that morning.
Mackenzie claims to this day that she has no memory of the deadly crash. However, after investigators hired an expert to look at the car's computer data, it started to look like more than just an accident.
There's approximately 5 seconds of pre-crash data for the entire 5 seconds. The accelerator pedal was at 100%.
The evidence that we had in this case was compelling. 100% gas pedal, no attempt at using the brake. The car didn't fail. Mackenzie and Dominic had an incredibly toxic and failing relationship.
Not only did investigators find proof of intense fights between Mackenzie and her boyfriend, but one of Dom's friends told police that prior to the fatal accident, Dom called him saying Mackenzie was going to crash her car with Dom in it.
Can you clarify again what you heard her say over the phone?
She says she'll crash this car right now.
4 months later, Mackenzie was arrested on 12 counts, including the murder of her boyfriend Dom and friend Davion. After an emotional 4-day trial, she was found guilty. And for the first time, Mackenzie and her parents tell her side of the story.
There was no intent whatsoever. I have excessive amounts of remorse for Dominic, Davion.
But that doesn't seem to be having the effect they hoped for.
Let me tell you something. Mackenzie Shirilla did not walk around that prison yard with an ounce of remorse.
Mackenzie's former prison mate, Kate, is now talking, claiming what she witnessed is very different than what Mackenzie portrayed.
All she cared about was doing her makeup, walking the yard with her 1 or 2 friends.
There's not a moment that doesn't pass where I don't think about them.
Mackenzie never cried the entire time I saw her in prison, not one tear. So for her to sit in that documentary and say that she thought about it every day was...
Mackenzie received 15 years to life before the possibility of parole, which she isn't up for until 2037. NBC legal analyst Misty Marris says the documentary could potentially affect her chances.
There's all sorts of different factors that come into play. And with that, there can be statements, petitions that are sent to the parole board to take into consideration. So everything we saw in this documentary could be a central part of the parole process.
And it's interesting because Mackenzie chose to have a bench trial, meaning there was no jury and a judge decided her fate.